Hey everyone, I just read Morning Star by Pierce Brown, and this still ain't it. I don't know what else to tell you. It's a book about a Martian miner's fight to tear down an oppressive, autocratic, color-based system that has held the solar system in an iron fist for 60 years, with the help of every ally and even some enemies he's made across the course of the entire series. The pros? The revolution promised way back in book 1 finally kicks off, which was such a relief after what felt like 2 whole novels of umming and ahhing from Darrow and the Sons of Ares. It was great to finally get narrative payoff for that side of the plot. Like with Golden Sun, there are some pretty crazy twists and turns, some unexpected deaths, some interesting betrayals. As with the previous book, I don't think all of them landed perfectly, but in general I think the author pulled them off better here than in the earlier entries, and they kept things interesting overall. And the whole section of the book set around Jupiter and its moons, from the politics to the big epic space battle, was probably the highlight of the series for me. I think I've been spoiled by The Expanse, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but also the Halo books to a certain extent on big epic space battles. They don't really work when told from one perspective in my opinion, but the one here came close to challenging my view on that. The cons? On that note, the way the book is still told entirely from Darrow's perspective really holds it back. Again, there is an interesting story going on here, but restricting the telling of it to the viewpoint of this one monumental idiot just limits so much of what the plot and what the setting is capable of. So much of the book is spent with Darrow recovering from what happened at the end of Golden Sun, or going off to forge alliances far away from the revolutionary front that the previous 2 books spent so much time hyping up. And that would be fine if his story was just one of several, but it's not, and it just holds everything back. Case in point, the villains are barely present in the narrative because they're on the other side of the freaking solar system for the entire thing. Mind you, I don't think having multiple viewpoints would have helped much because I could not stand any of the characters in this book. Darrow is still insufferable, the bombshell Mustang drops on him at the very end just makes me hate both of them. Her for doing it in the first place, and him for being completely okay with it, given I, and everyone I've asked about it as a hypothetical question, would at the very least be annoyed, if not outright angry. The Jackal is such a boring, over-the-top antagonist who was always just one step ahead of everyone until suddenly he wasn't. The supporting characters are all so awful. The only nice thing I have to say about any of them is that they feel authentic, but they're not people I particularly enjoy reading about. And the pacing of this story is such a mess. It seemed like things were going to pick up with the revolution finally kicking off, but like I said, then Darrow and the rest of the leads fly off to the outer planets in search of allies, instead of hanging around to take part in the fighting. And while I enjoyed the setup for the final confrontation on Luna, it suffers by having to crush in 2 climactic battles with the 2 lead villains back to back right at the very end of the book, and both end up feeling rushed and unsatisfying as a result. This is not a bad idea for a book, but it is seriously hampered in execution, and it really doesn't help that it has to fulfill the role of both middle part and end part of the trilogy, given Golden Sun is in many ways a soft reboot of the story started in Red Rising. Overall, the trilogy just feels very confused. Red Rising wanted to be a young adult dystopia in the vein of the Hunger Games, Golden Sun wanted to be an epic space opera, Morning Star very much wants to be an ending, but as a whole it just feels very disjointed despite its potential. Yeah, I really don't get the appeal, and personally I wouldn't recommend it, but if you enjoyed the first 2 books you'll probably find something to like here. If you weren't a fan of Golden Sun though, I'd steer clear, and I'm giving Morning Star a C. Sorry, what did you think of the book? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're there, why not leave a suggestion for what I should read next? And by next I mean eventually. If you liked the review and want to see more, please like, subscribe, and share the video around. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.